resolution in the shot goes down. So don't just simply arbitrarily choose the 12-second mode. Then next we have the execute button, and that's going to set it up to be ready to execute when we hit the record button. So we'll hit record. It's now buffering up that shot, and it's recorded that shot and recording whatever is in our picture there. We can see that roll across. This automatically sets our shutter speed, so we don't need to do that for the camcorder. It will do that all on its own. So now it's recorded the shot, and that's been placed down to tape. So we'll get out of our smooth slow mode and go back to our menu. Now I'm going to interject a little bit of opinion here. You already saw in a previous shot the difference between a smooth slow shot and a shot where I've shot with the camcorder fairly high shutter speed, like 1/250th or higher, and then stretched that out in post. Generally, doing your time lapse or your time stretch or your frame duplicate is almost always better in your nonlinear editor than using it in the camcorder. It's a great feature. It's one I'm happy that they've offered to us, but it does have its caveats. You're dealing with a much lower resolution. It's a slightly smoother motion overall because it's done in hardware versus software, but most NLE systems can do a better job at smooth, slow recording, or rather time stretching or time expansion. So I recommend you check this out with your particular application and see what works best for you. Next, let's look at interval recording. Interval recording is the same thing as time-lapse photography, so we can go in and set our intervals. And first of all, we'll turn this to the on mode. We'll come down to our record time. How long do we want it to record each time? Do we want it to record a half a second, a full second, 1.5 seconds, or 2 seconds? So we've got some options there. Now the reason that we can't go slower than a half a second is because we're dealing with the GOP frame structure, or the GOP of the MPEG. Next we can choose our intervals. We can choose to shoot every 30 seconds, every 1 minute, every 5 minutes, or every 10 minutes. So if you wanted to get the longest time lapse possible, you would shoot every 10 minutes at 1/2 of a second. So you can deal with a variety of different selections here. If you're looking for that smooth cloud look, you're probably going to want to shoot every 30 seconds at that half a frame, or rather that half a second mode. We'll get back out of there. We're going to turn our time lapse off. You can see some time lapse photography here in front of you using the camcorder with the clouds. Okay, let's click up OK. DV frame record. Now we're not going to go directly into this mode, but what DV frame record is because DV shoots 1 frame at a time, what we'll do then is record 1 frame, 1 shot. Each time you press that start-stop button, it simply records 1 frame of video. This is great for doing claymation and stop-action photography and some of these kinds of things, or stop-motion work. So it does have this feature available to us, and it is native widescreen. So if that's the kind of work you're looking to do, that'll work out really great. But that's really all that DV frame mode is for. Stepping back down, we have shot transition. This is one of my favorite features. One of the things that these small format camcorders don't offer perfectly is what's called measure and mark. What measure and mark means is it's a way of setting up our shot so that we're using a measuring device to measure from the lens to our subject. Well, one way we can perfectly create a measure and mark system for pulling focus and pulling exposure is by using shot transition. So we're going to open up the shot transition menu, and you can see here we have, first of all, transition time. How long does it take for that transition to occur? Let's set this up for 6 seconds. We could choose a start timer. In other words, it may delay at the moment that we start our record process. And record link, and we'll generally turn that to the on or off position for 1 or 2 of the shots. In other words, shot A or shot B. Let's leave that to off for the time being. Our focus transition, we generally want that on. In other words, we want the camera to change focus as it goes through the transition. We may want our zoom transition to be on, and the same thing with the iris. So I'm going to leave all 3 of those on, which are default positions. Okay, we're going to go up to OK. And now we're going to set this up. So we're going to go to the top button on the camcorder. We press shot transition right there under the handle. And this puts us into a store mode. So the first thing we're going to do is compose our shot. Let's just pull that back just a little bit wider, and let's open up our exposure just till we start seeing some of those zebra indicators there, and we're going to store that as shot A. So when we press that, shot A blinks. Now let's recompose our shot, so we'll zoom in just a little bit. Now let's underexpose that shot just a tiny bit. We can see the zebra just starting to creep in there. Now we're going to press the B button. So now we've got shot A and shot B set up. So let's now click the shot transition button again, and we'll see that this now indicates a check mode. Now we're currently in shot A, so let's press shot B there. We can see that pull back. So now we see our shot A. Let's press the B button. We see the exposure, the zoom, and the focus all change as we go into that shot B mode. So we'll press the top button again, choose execute, and it's now ready to execute our shot. So we're going to go from shot A to shot B as we record. And we can use this to be a rack focus type of a shot. In other words, be focused on something in the foreground and then focus on something in the back.